Hello and welcome to Human Anatomy Prep. I'm Ty Gardner and I'll be your instructor. We're going to take a quick look at the 12 pairs of cranial nerves that arise from the brain. This mind map will be our guide. I've arranged it by general area of sensory or motor innervation. It has all the basic information you need to know: name and number, general description of its innervation/function, and its transmitting foramen, the hole or holes through which it exits the skull. We need to learn the names and numbers first. That's where our mnemonic comes in. If you don't like it, tons are available online. I must warn you, you may find some offensive. Let's go. One of our terrible teachers always farts vaporized garlic. Vampires avoid him. Let's take a look at them in order. Cranial nerve number 1, the olfactory nerve, carries sensory information regarding smell from the nose. Technically, we see the olfactory tract and olfactory bulb, a ganglion, here. Olfactory nerve filaments pass through the cribriform foramina of the ethmoid bone as they leave the nose, and synapse with neurons of the olfactory tract within the olfactory bulb. Cranial nerve number 2, the optic nerve, carries sensory information regarding vision from the eye. This is the optic chiasm, where the optic nerves join and send part of their axons to the other side of the brain. The transmitting foramen of the optic nerve is the optic canal, sometimes called the optic foramen. Cranial nerve number 3, the oculomotor nerve, carries motor information to the muscles of the eye. This includes most extrinsic muscles, origin outside of the eye, though 2 have their own nerves, and 2 intrinsic muscles, origin inside, the ciliary muscle that adjusts the lens, and the pupil constrictor of the iris. The transmitting foramen of the oculomotor nerve is the superior orbital fissure. This foramen is shared with cranial nerves 4, 5, and 6. Only the optic nerve, number 2, has its own path to the eye. Cranial nerve number 4, the trochlear nerve, carries motor information to the superior oblique muscle of the eye. The superior oblique muscle is at the top, superior, of the eye and has a tendon that runs diagonally, oblique. Cranial nerve number 5, the trigeminal nerve, has 3 branches: ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. While spinal nerves carry most cutaneous signals, the trigeminal nerve carries sensory signals from the face. It also innervates muscles of mastication, chewing muscles. While the ophthalmic branch shares the superior orbital fissure with the cranial nerves 3, 4, and 6, the maxillary branch uses the foramen rotundum, and the mandibular branch uses the foramen ovale. Cranial nerve number 6, the abducens nerve, carries motor information to the lateral rectus muscle of the eye. The lateral rectus muscle is at the outside, lateral, of the eye and runs straight, rectus, back to front. Cranial nerve number 7, the facial nerve, has branches that travel all over the face. It innervates muscles of facial expression, skeletal muscles, so somatic innervation. It also innervates 2 salivary glands and the lacrimal, tear gland, both autonomic. It also receives taste signals from the tongue. The facial nerve exits the skull through the internal auditory canal and the stylomastoid foramen. Cranial nerve number 8, the vestibulocochlear nerve, receives sensory signals from the inner ear. Hearing signals come from the cochlea, equilibrium signals from the semicircular canals and vestibule. Like the facial nerve, the vestibulocochlear nerve travels through the internal auditory canal. Cranial nerve number 9, the glossopharyngeal nerve, innervates a throat muscle, receives taste information, innervates the parotid salivary gland, and receives blood oxygen concentration information from the carotid body. The glossopharyngeal nerve is transmitted through the jugular foramen along with cranial nerves 10 and 11. Cranial nerve number 10, the vagus nerve, innervates viscera, the internal organs of the ventral cavity, for example, heart. This means that the vagus nerve is an important component of the autonomic nervous system. The oculomotor, facial, and glossopharyngeal nerves also have important ANS functions. Cranial nerve number 11, the accessory nerve, is kind of like a spinal nerve. It innervates two muscles of the neck. It targets the sternocleidomastoid and trapezius muscles. Cranial nerve number 12, the hypoglossal nerve, innervates the muscles of the tongue, intrinsic and extrinsic. It has its own transmitting foramen, the hypoglossal canal. I hope this has been helpful. Your next stop is the video on the autonomic nervous system.